Oh, lordy, my friends, it's not whether or not you're snarky, it's whether or not you're snarky enough. This is, this is so bad. I've been sitting here and I've been talking about this AI fraud for so long at this point, and I keep explaining the parts of the AI fraud. And the funny part, the weird part for me is it only keeps getting worse. So one of the things I've been talking about for a little while now is that these big companies, OpenAI and Anthropic and such, have been talking about ARR, or annual recurring revenue. And so basically, right, back in the days when technology companies were actually saying, 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, right, there was profit and there was revenue, and that was basically what you looked at. You had these normal numbers. What we've noticed in the startup world over the past, 15 years or so is that when these startup companies can't actually prove their value with numbers that make sense, they start making up numbers. Like the classic example was, it was Twitter. And Twitter had this metric. It was MDAOs, monetizable daily active users. And so what that was, it was any Twitter account that was basically that daily log on average logged in a day and that might see an ad. And so even though it said user, it wasn't actually user, it was an account. So if you had one user with 50 accounts, if they logged in at least once per day to post basically onto Twitter at that time period, and they would see an ad, that wouldn't be one user, that would actually be tracked as 50 users. Right? And so basically these companies for a long time, they just keep, making up metrics. And one of the big problems we're running into right now is that so many companies during the COVID era, in order to prove that they were successful, they just started hiring people. Look, obviously we're successful. Look at how many people we hired. Right? And this all is just a crap show. Look, it's revenue, it's profit, it's loss. There are some things in the accounting world that make sense when you're looking at, so it's something called EBITDA, right? Earnings before interest, deductions, taxes, and something else. Basically, one of the things to be taking a look at, let's say you have two companies to understand why some of these numbers exist. So with EBITDA, right? Let's say you have one company and they're in California, and you have another company and let's say they're in North Carolina, and basically they're competitors, right? And so California has higher taxes, it has a higher regulatory environment, all that type of thing. So if you try to look at the companies off of standard profit and loss, the company in California might not look like it's doing so good. And so if you go by an EBITDA basis, right, basically you rip out interest, you rip out taxes, you rip out appreciation, deductions, all of that kind of stuff. All of the kind of stuff where regulations or the government might come in to distort the performance of the company. Basically you rip all that out, and so you look at the EBITDA of a company in North Carolina and you look at the EBITDA at a company in California, and you get a better idea in a real competitive environment of basically how they're doing. So let's say I might be looking at buying a company in California, and if I look at their numbers, I might be like, wow, that company isn't doing very well. But if I look at their EBITDA, I may be like, oh, actually the company's doing pretty well. They're just being weighed down by being in California. So if I buy this company, move it to Texas, right, something you've heard a lot about, then this company could actually be really profitable, right? And that's why you have things like EBITDA or annualized recurring revenue. So one of the things to be thinking about, again, if you have a normal company, is that what if your company is growing, and what if you're trying to argue for investment in the company? So let's say I have a services company, right? So last year we had a revenue of $1 million for the year, and we can see that we're growing, right? So we came out with this new AI service that we're selling people, and we can see that we're growing, and I need to go to my boss and I need to argue, to get 2 more employees. And I've talked about in the technology world is that it takes a while to onboard employees. It takes anywhere, many times, between 6 months to a year to fully onboard an employee. So one of the things I might say is it's like, if I go to the boss and I say, hey, I need 2 more employees, and he looks at last year's revenue and says, look, last year's revenue at $1 million, here all the numbers work out. I can't afford to hire 2 more employees based off of last year's revenue. But if I go, hey, yeah, I get that, boss, but look, we've been selling the hell out of this new AI product. And so, we've sold $200,000 per month, right? So $200,000 per month at annual recurring revenue, that would be $2.4 million per year. So last year we made $1 million, but we came out with this new product. Although we've only been selling this product for a couple of months, if you annualize the sales, right, that would be $2.4 million. So we actually need even more employees, right? And that's one of the things. You use these numbers in order to make arguments. And so it is important, like when we talk about EBITDA, when we talk about ARR, when you talk about these things, in a sane world, there's a reason for this shit. The problem that we're running into right now in the AI world is everything's batshit insane, right? So they're just trying to figure out reasons why investors should give them money. And so one of the things that's come up with ARR, annualized recurring revenue. Again, we have this with OpenAI. I talked about this. They have been selling their ad services for like 2 months, and then they start talking about $100 million ARR. Look, we've only been selling ads on ChatGPT for 2 months, and we already have $100 million ARR. And you're like, well, you've made $20 million. God bless, you've made $20 million. But there's a difference, or no, $16 million, I suppose. But there's a difference between making $16 million and making $100 million, right? And that's one of the problems that we get into. That's why I get frustrated with ARR. But yeah. But wait, there's more. But here's one of the other things in accounting, right? So when you start doing your QuickBooks, when you initially set it up, at least back in the old days, one of the questions that comes up is basically when do you want to actually log revenue? And so this is an interesting question too. And either way you do it, there's legitimate ways for doing it either way. Basically, you can either log the revenue when you actually get payment from your customer, right? So you give the customer a $100 invoice, they give you $100 in cash, you log $100 in revenue, right? That makes sense. Here's one of the problems though. Again, for budgeting purposes, accounting purposes, all kinds of stuff. Like it can take a while for things to work through the system, to actually be able to deploy a project, for the money to actually come in. There's just a lot of tedious crap that goes on. So one of the ways you can kind of streamline your accounting to try to make it easier to deal with is that you actually log the revenue as soon as the contract is signed. So the moment the contract is signed, you log $100 in revenue, even though you haven't gotten the revenue, right? Because sometimes you sign the contract and you get the revenue the next day. Sometimes you sign the contract, it takes 6 months to get the revenue. Again, that's the one thing, like everybody in a company actually has a job and everybody's trying to make their lives easier. And so for the accountants and the CFO in the company, sometimes it's to understand financially how the company is doing, it's easier to actually log the revenue when the contract actually gets signed. So guess what these AI companies are doing? Can't even make this shit up. Oh, so what if you combine annualized recurring revenue with booking the revenue when the contract is signed, not when you even actually get the money? Yeah, that apparently is going on in the AI world, and apparently it gets even stupider. So stupid. Oh, it's just so stupid. I am not creative enough for this. So coming from TechCrunch, how VCs and founders use inflated ARR to crown AI startups. Last month, Scott Stevenson, co-founder and CEO of the legal AI startup Spellbook, took to X in an effort to expose what he called a huge scam among AI startups, inflation of the revenue figures that they announced publicly. The reason many AI startups are crushing revenue records is because they are using dishonest metric. The biggest funds in the world are supporting this and misleading journalists for PR coverage, he wrote in this tweet. And this is my other big concern with all this, is everybody is in bed with the AI fraud. Like, that's one of the scary things we have with this whole AI fraud right now, is everybody is in bed with it. Normally when we have this tech fraud going on, when you have the tech fraud going on in the startup world or whatever else, normally you have the cheerleaders that are cheerleading the fraud, and then you have a lot of other people that are trying to expose the fraud. The problem that we have right now is everybody wants to support the AI fraud. Our politicians want to support the AI fraud. The tech companies want to support the AI fraud. The VCs want to support the AI fraud. And lordy, the fucking normies want to support this AI fraud for some reason. And so one of the big issues that we're having right now is what happens when everybody loses their mind, and that's one of the big concerns with this. Stephen isn't the first to claim that annual recurring revenue, a metric historically used to sum up annual revenue of active customers under contract, is being manipulated by some AI companies beyond recognition. However, Stevenson's tweet seemed to have struck a particular nerve within the AI startup community, drawing over 200 reshares and comments from high-profile investors, many founders, and a few headlines. Indeed, our sources, many of whom spoke on the condition of anonymity, confirmed that fudged ARR in public declarations is a common occurrence among startups, and how in many cases investors are aware of the exaggerations. So that's the thing. It's not simply that the founders are screwing around. 22-year-old founders are going to be 22-year-old founders. The concerning thing is that the investors that are supposed to be adults in the room are going along with this. The main obfuscation tactic is substituting contracted ARR, sometimes referred to as committed ARR, CAR, and simply calling it ARR. Quote, for sure, they're reporting CAR as ARR, one investor said. When one startup does it in a category, it is hard not to do it yourself just to keep up. CAR is supposed to be another way to track growth, but it's a much squishier metric than ARR because it counts revenue from signed customers that aren't onboarded yet. So the customers just signed up, but they're not actually onboarded. Several investors told TechCrunch that they directly know of at least one high-profile enterprise startup that reported it surpassed $100 million in ARR when only a fraction of that revenue came from currently paying customers. The rest was from contracts that hadn't been deployed yet, and in some cases may take a long time to implement the technology. One former employee at a startup that routinely reported CAR as R told TechCrunch that the company counted at least one substantial year-long free pilot as ARR. Well, what could go wrong? So yeah, what we're gonna start doing is when you sign up for a free trial of our product, we're just gonna count that as if you're actually a paying subscriber. Oh God. This is so much worse than I thought. It's just so much worse. It's just so much worse. Like, I've been in the tech world for 30 years. Again, I started my business like over 20. I've been a tech entrepreneur for like over 20 years. Look, I am snarky about this shit. Like, oh my God. It's so bad. It's just so bad. Let's see, year-long free pilot as ARR. The company board, including a VC from a large fund, was aware that the revenue from the eventual paying part of the contract had been counted in ARR during the lengthy pilot program, the person said. The board was also aware that the customer could cancel before paying the full contract amount. So yeah, so that's basically what's going on now in the whole AI startup world. It's just bad. It's so bad. As I've said, China is building the future. I don't know what the fuck we're doing. Oh, mama, what are we doing? So yeah, and that's the concern. And so the concern with all this too is it's not that individual founders do this. Look, you got a lot of young founders out there. They're gonna try to do what young founders do, right? Some of them are gonna win, some of them are gonna lose. The problem that I see with this, the two big problems that I see with this, is that the adults in the room are going along with this, right? Like, as I've said, the VCs, the politicians, even the normies are buying in to all of this idiocy. And then the other problem that you run into, right? What if you're trying to create a real sane AI company? Because as I've talked about before, I'm not anti-AI, right? Vector databases are fucking amazing, right? Neural networks are great. The technology that AI encompasses is amazing. The issue that I run into is all this money stuff. My issue is SpaceX at $1.75 trillion valuation. My issue is, Anthropic and OpenAI at $1 trillion valuation. My issue is all the money stupidity going on. And so one of the problems, though, is imagine you're a startup founder, and imagine you're actually a fucking adult. Imagine you're actually an adult, and you're actually trying to make the world a better place, and you're actually trying to build for the future, right? One of the problems that you're going to run into, though, is even if you've got good revenue, good actual fucking revenue, even if you've got good cash flow, even if profit makes sense. Like, yes, we are investing now, but all we have to do is, stop buying data centers and we'd be profitable, right? Even if all that stuff makes sense. One of the issues that you're going to run into, and this is where I get scared with the whole AI fraud. This is the real danger of the AI fraud, right? These fraudulent bastards are sucking up all the money. They're sucking up all the oxygen, right? Think about this in the AI world. All of this money is being dumped into artificial intelligence, even when there might be other technology products and projects that make a hell of a lot more sense, but AI is sucking everything up. And so the issue is if you're a good founder that actually knows what the hell's going on with a good product in the whole 9 yards, right? This is then forcing you to start thinking about being slightly nefarious, right? Hey, we have a good company, but we can't get investment because all these other people are lying. So maybe we fudge our books too. And basically, what happens when the entire American economy essentially is being built on everybody fudging their books? And that's where I say this is just beyond stupidity. I've talked about it before. In the fall of last year, 2025, I came up with the whole idea of stupicorns, right? A unicorn is a startup company worth $1 billion. A decacorn is a startup company worth $10 billion. And then last fall, not a year ago, I was making a joke about stupicorns. What's a stupicorn? Is a startup company worth $100 billion because it's so stupid. And now apparently we've got $3 trillion startup companies 9 months later. So anyways, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about annual recurring revenue being booked as soon as the contract is signed, not even when the payments come in? What do you think about startup companies booking ARR based off of companies using trials of their software? Are you starting to understand why I'm getting a wee bit frustrated? Are you starting to understand why this is the worst era of my entire technology career? Anyways, put your thoughts down below. If you like these episodes, they are on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Link is in the doobly-doo, along with a link to my LinkedIn account if you want to follow me there. See y'all later.